What up, YouTube Live? How's it going? This is yours truly, Rama Screen, covering movies, TV, and entertainment. It is Thursday, and you know what that means, right? Um, it's all new episode of The Twilight Zone, the brand new reboot on CBS All Access. By the way, Rama Screen is an affiliate of CBS All Access, so if you haven't subscribed to CBS All Access, you can do so by going to my website, ramascreen.com, uh, and go to the sidebar on the homepage, the sidebar to the right of your page, right on your screen, and you should see the CBS All Access banner there, and click on it or click through it and follow the instructions there. It's that easy. So go to my website, ramascreen.com, and you'll find the CBS All Access banner there. CBS All Access is where you can enjoy such shows as The Twilight Zone and The Good Fight, Strange Angel, and of course, my favorite, Star Trek Discovery. All right, so just like with most of my episode recaps and TV reviews, this video contains spoilers. So, heads up, spoiler alert. I'll be spilling some spoiler here. This review is mainly for those of you, my fellow Twilight Zone fans, who have also watched today's new episode. That's season 1, episode 6. Sorry, I got a runny nose. Season 1, episode 6, titled 6 Degrees of Freedom. And it's a space episode. Yay! If you're into that kind of stuff, get stoked. Now, if you're like me and you have been fans of the Twilight Zone, the original series, the classic black and white one with Rod Serling, uh, you would know that that version, the original one, had many uh, space themed episodes. I remember because I used to watch like Twilight Zone marathon, man, when I was in college. In college, when it's on vacation or maybe holiday like Labor Day, Sci-Fi Channel back when it was SCI-FI, not SYFY like it is today. They would have Twilight Zone marathon. So um, I was addicted to it, and I remember such episodes as, I don't remember the titles, but the episode where the space shuttle, this crew, go to this they go to this, or they're on a journey, on a mission to go to this planet, but then they find or they discover a spaceship that's identical to theirs, but it's stranded. So that's the mystery. They're trying to find out, whoa, what happens to that version of us. And I remember some other episodes as well, uh, where it has similar themes in which the crew member of the or the astronauts land on this planet, and they encounter the inhabitants there, the people who live on that planet, and they're usually something either sinister or unexpected about those inhabitants. Um, so yeah, space themed episodes, of course, is nothing new to the Twilight Zone universe, and it's no surprise that this reboot wants to have at least one episode uh, that is space themed. Um, so if you've been following this new take on CBS All Access by Jordan Peele, you would know that a few episodes have paid homage to episodes from the old black and white Twilight Zone. For example, the second episode, Flight at what was it, 40,000 feet? That was an homage to the episode starring William Shatner back in the day, and of course the episode I'm blanking out right now. Oh, last week, the episode starring Jacob Tremblay. Now that was an homage to the old episode titled "It's a Good Life," where that one kid, pretty much controlled with his mind, controlled the whole town. Um, this one I tried to find, like, okay, because I looked it up, like Does this episode, Six Degrees of Freedom, pay homage to any specific space themed Twilight Zone in the past? I looked them up, nothing that really comes close. Now, if you say, "Hey Rama, I found it. I found that episode that this Six Degrees of Freedom is trying to pay homage to." Let me know. Let me know because I didn't find it. But if you found it, that's good. Share it with the rest of the class. Okay. Um. Now the let me give you the context. So, five crew members on this space shuttle, and they are on a mission to Mars. The episode starts out actually with footage of like news footage, of course, a compilation of, oh my God, Earth is not going to be inhabitable anymore, or like the climate change is hurting the planet, and lack of resources causing people to fight over it, and all the chaos, suggesting that those things motivate space travel to Mars. Um, it doesn't really indicate that, oh, we're gonna try to build a colony on Mars. It's just that it seems to like, okay, all the things that all the events that happen in the world lead up to the to humanity saying, hey, you know what, we got to look up to the stars again, uh, for for um, for possible solutions of our problems. Um, Now, these five crew members, they start out really confident. They start out really confident. They're like, "Oh my God, we're gonna go to Mars!" And they even start out with a song. And there's the AI. There's always an AI, right? Now, for those of you, my fellow space and 2001 Space Odyssey movie, and the movie Duncan Jones's Moon, starring Sam Rockwell. Remember, those two have something in similar, called the AI, HAL 3000, or 3000 or 9000. Well, anyway, there's always an AI that speaks, and oftentimes in scenarios like that, you would expect the AI to go out of control or take over, or make it harder for the humans or the astronauts. Um, another space thriller that I like is called Event Horizon. So if you haven't watched Event Horizon, that's also kind of creepy. Um, so the AI in this one is called Tina in this episode. Now, I when that was introduced beginning or early on in the episode, I was like, oh my God, this is it. This is it. Is Tina's wheels are gonna go off the rails, and the chaos is gonna happen because of this AI named Tina. I don't know how, but it's gotta be Tina. It's gotta be. And turns out, no. Turns out this episode doesn't necessarily pay homage to Space Odyssey or Moon in terms of that, in terms of the AI. As a matter of fact, Tina throughout this whole episode is pretty helpful. Um, but the conflict comes with, and this is what I find fascinating. I think credits to the writers. When the astronauts, when these five crew members, uh, suddenly hear through the radio that there have been nuclear attacks happening on planet Earth, like all the major cities are attacked. Um, Major countries attack each other nuclear wise. So there's nuclear war while they're inside that shuttle, and so they have to make a decision. Okay, should we abort or should we go with our mission? And they come to the realization that they had sacrificed too much to just abort. The commanders names all the stuff that they sacrificed. Like, hey, you lost your marriage because of this, or you lost your house because of the. We can't turn back now. And and they and he and he said something that's profound. The commander's this African American woman, and she said, and I'm paraphrasing here. She said it's fascinating that uh, prior to this nuclear war that we're hearing on the radio, or on our, on our radio, prior to this, we thought that it's gonna be our families that we leave behind that are gonna be wondering about our safety, that they're gonna be the ones that will be concerned and be like, oh, I wonder if they get there on Mars okay, you know. Fascinating, because now it's kind of flipped. Now we're the ones stuck in this shuttle wondering about them, our families, and we're like worried to death, like, oh my god, they're getting attacked down there with nuclear bombs. So I find, yeah, I too find that really fascinating. It's like, wow. Um, so they decide ultimately to go through with the mission and to go to Mars. But of course, their headspace is on Earth, and I think one of the crew members tries to make contact, and at one point they actually reach some kind of a signal, but turns out it's a TV show signal from back in the old days or decades ago. And I remember somebody tells me this. I don't know. You can correct me if I'm wrong, but there had been efforts in the past. I think America that does it or did it, or maybe Russia too. Well, anyway, there have been efforts in the past, or maybe this was from a movie. Maybe it's from Contact with Jodie Foster movie. But there have been efforts in the past when uh, we signal out or throw signal out into the space, just radio signal or signals about whatever our music or our the TV shows that we watch here. There have been efforts in the past to do that, to my understanding. Correct me if I'm wrong. And in hopes that some extraterrestrial beings out there would pick up that signal. That's the purpose. That's the reason why we shoot it out. Um, and so somebody tells me this fun theory back when I was a kid. Again, correct me if I'm wrong. That of course it would take years for such a signal to even land on the ears of extraterrestrial, if there's an extraterrestrial. Um, and so in this episode, it seems that the TV show signal that they happen to come across is TV show from like way back when, like in the 50s or 60s or some sort. Um, so it finally caught up to them in their time. Now, um, before I get to the psychological terror part of this episode, I just want to give credit to the actors here. DeWanda Wise is the lead actress who plays the commander. DeWanda Wise is the star of She's Gotta Have It on Netflix. Here's a fun fact: she was supposed to play Captain Marvel's best friend in the recent movie Captain Marvel with Brie Larson, but DeWanda Wise was contractually obligated to come back to do She's Gotta Have It for Netflix, so she was not able to do that Captain Marvel best friend role, and that role ultimately went to Lashana Lynch, who I thought did a fantastic job with that one. So um, the Wonder Wise would have done a just as equally great job as well. The other actress in this episode also Jessica Williams. Jessica Williams is a comedian. She was part of the Daily Show correspondence, and so I never saw her doing dramatic stuff, and she pulls off a great dramatic chop in this episode, 6 Degrees Freedom for the Twilight Zone. This is the first time I've ever seen Jessica Williams actually do drama, and she impressed me. Her character in this one frequently conflicts with the commander. At one point, Jessica Williams' character has sex with her fellow crew member, and that's a big no no. That's a big no no. The commander's like, no, you can't have sex. You can't risk bringing a child into this situation. We only have supply enough for us for us five. We can't bring another mouth to feed. And you know what? An argument can be made like, "Oh, they're just having sex. They're just having fun." Um, dude. If you have to stay in space for like a year, you're not even reaching your destination yet. Just in space for a year, you would get bored to death. No matter like you might say like right now, oh my god, I wish I could go out into space, float in zero gravity. Yeah, it's fun for like the first few hours, but a year stuck up there doing the same thing every day and in that one confined space, like you can't go anywhere else. That's gonna get really boring. It's gonna mess with your head. Um, so an argument can be had or can be made like, hey, they're just having sex, man. You all that pent up aggression and pent up like boredom, like you release it. It's healthy. What's wrong with that? Why are you being such a buzzkill? But Commander's argument also is a valid one because even if you say, hey, I pull out, the guy for the guy, like, oh, I'm careful, we're being careful, you know, there's no, um, how do you call that? There's no breeding of any kind. We're just having sex for having sex alone. That's the only sex that we're doing just for sex sake. Even if you say that, you never know, man. You never know. You never know. So, better safe than sorry. Better not to do it while you're on this mission. Uh, as bad as I don't, the commander makes sense because the presence of just pregnancy, not just a child, it was just pregnancy, let alone a child, just pregnancy. It burdens everybody. It jeopardizes the resources. So it just totally makes sense. So Jessica Williams's character conflicts with the commander quite often, and you can tell that comes from a place of that frustration, comes from a place of like anger because she can't contact home. She doesn't know what happened to her family in that nuclear attack on planet Earth. And uh, throughout this episode, the commander keeps saying to them, like, "Don't contact Earth. Don't waste our energy doing that." And she's right because the people down there probably obliterated by now. So so that's where the anger and frustration, like for Jessica Williams' character, comes from, and that's why there's friction between her and the commander. Um, but then halfway through, the episode shifts from that friction to straight up madness, which is represented by the character played by actor Jefferson White. Jefferson White is gotta give credit where credit is due. He is fantastic. So remember, I told you like if you stay in space for that long, a year or 2 years, it'll start messing with your head, man. It's like being in a solitary confinement in prison. You'll start going cuckoo for Cocoa Puff, especially if you're just by yourself. Um, but Jefferson White's character, he starts theorizing that um, that they are not really in that space shuttle or ship. I don't know whatever you want to call it. He says like we're not really here. This is all just a simulation test. Somebody out there, if you open the pod right now, you'll see people in lab suits, and their notepads, examining us, and this is all just a test to see how far our endurance, our mental and physical endurance can go. So that sequence when they're about to hit, I guess, the solar flare of the sun, um, and so everybody has to go back to their seats, be seated again. But Jefferson White's character is like keeps theorizing, no, 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 somebody's out there. I'm gonna prove it to you. Um, and of course, that does not end well for him. Now, the revelation at the end, I don't want to blow it too much for you guys, but it here's the thing. um, it's alien related. Okay, there you go. Spoiler alert! Spoiler alert! It's alien related, but it's it it is a much more well woven story about aliens, much more well woven or well structured and well written compared to the episode 4, starring Stephen Yoon as the traveler who finds himself in the prison. Remember, by the end of that episode, you see space aliens fly by or fly over the skies of Alaska right at the minute when the deputy and the sheriff have a conflict. And I mentioned to you before that space aliens showing up is so unwarranted. And number two, the conflict never gets resolved. And it seems like one doesn't connect with the other. Like, okay, I get it. Space aliens are there, but how does that play into this conflict between the deputy and the sheriff? And on top of it all, or number three, or worse of all, is that it makes it seem like oh my god, the aliens have arrived. So this could be continued to like it feels like an episode that is begging to tell you more of the story, but it never gets that because it just ends. It's like a first parter of a two-parter that doesn't exist. Do you get what I'm saying? And so, uh, compared to that, the space alien revelation in this episode is actually, in my opinion, much more well thought out because it goes or it speaks to this theory that they have, or the one that the Jefferson White's character actually presented. And the theory is called the Great Filter. I looked it up. Turns out it's an actual theory. I'm not sure who came up with it. Maybe it's just like a urban theory that's been widely accepted by a lot of people. Basically, the Great Filter theory says, and I'm paraphrasing here, the reason why um, we haven't found extra terrestrial life, alien space alien life, is because whenever advanced life tries to make that travel to find another advanced life, in the process or in the journey, that life often destroys itself. And um, and so the theory suggests um, that we haven't seen space alien life because that those extraterrestrial life beings, they have encountered calamities and destructions that we the humans have not yet faced. um, and so they might have tried to come to reach to us. They might have tried to travel to us, Earth, to make contact, but in the process, something happens and they destroy themselves. And so there's this fear throughout this episode, like I don't think we're gonna make our destination because we might face this thing called the Great Filter that's gonna that pretty much sums up like why we never actually see anybody or any being beyond the space. Um so by the end of the episode, the 5 crew members actually reach planet Mars, and they're like, oh my god, we've proven that guy wrong. The guy that was like, go he went all mad, and like it's like, oh, somebody's watching us, so he opened the pot. It's like we proved him wrong because we went through the great filter. We made it. The great filter does not or did not destroy us. And so, boom, the revelation is that that guy, Jefferson White's character, is now under the influence of space aliens that indeed have been watching um, the crew members, and the space alien keeps saying to each other like, wow, look at these guys. They actually successfully managed to go through the great filter successfully. Maybe they're worth salvaging after all. Maybe humans are not that bad after all. um so it's I don't know if the word profound is the right word to describe it, but it's as if the episode is saying, hey, despite the fact that despite the fact that we as humans, or we as beings, destroy our planet with climate change, with the rising temperature of the earth because of our cause, despite the nuclear war, despite our conflict with each other, our friction, you know despite all that, we are still worth saving. We are still, you know that we can still be capable, we as humans be capable of the impossible, including conquering the great filter theory. um I think that's, to me, that's the impression I get. The impression I get is the episode is trying to say, hey, you know don't give up on ourselves as humans. I know it's easy when we look around, it's easy to lose faith in humanity, because humans are capable of just the most horrendous stuff, not only onto the this mother earth that we live in, but also to each other. The things that we do to each other is just, sometimes it's like, wow, really unbelievable. um why would you do that to your fellow man? um but the episode is trying to be hopeful, I think, in my opinion, even though it's kind of freaky with the space alien thing. But I think it's the episode's trying to, what it tries to convey is like, hey, we're still savable. We're not lost cause. We, just like we did the impossible years ago by landing on the moon, we can do impossible things as well now. Now, I forgot to mention that this episode also does a fantastic job of incorporating a lot of old archival footage of NASA. Uh, yeah, NASA's, what's the word I'm looking for here? NASA's missions. There you go, mission. That's what I'm looking for. It has a bunch of archival footage, uh, very brief flashes of footage, not like long ones, but they're enough to kind of let you know, like, oh man, we came a long way from that. We did that. We did that as humans. We actually did that in the 60s and 70s. We went, to the orbit, to the moon. Like, we did that. And it does, when you see those flashes of images of old archival footage. I don't know about you, but it does, to me, invoke, or those images do invoke, a sense of like pride, a sense of like, um yeah, hope, like looking to the stars again for possible answers, as I said earlier. And yeah, I think this is a fantastic episode that, to my knowledge, or to my recollection, or to my knowledge, that does not specifically pay homage to any of the old space themed Twilight Zone, the black and white one, narrated by Ron Serling. But it's a well written one. It's very well performed. All the actors here are really extraordinary. Jefferson White, the Wanda Wise, Jessica Williams. You can really sense, and some of the camera, camera work, cinematography choices in this one. are also fascinating. Uh, at one point, I think there's a shot from inside the toilet. I was like expecting the worst, like whoa, um, but it was surprisingly clean. And there's some also interesting shots as well in this film that make you go like, wow. That's the thing though. When you see, and this is my final point, when you see or rewatch those old space themed Twilight Zone episodes from the 50s, the black and white ones, when you rewatch them again, maybe when you have Twilight Zone marathon going on during the holiday, when you rewatch them, you'll notice that many instances or many of those episodes, they'll have like an image of a spaceship or whatnot, right? But because of the budget constraints or the special effects constraints of that time, um, much of the mystery, much of the thrill, um, are dialogue driven, are mostly spoken about. Of course, now it's 2019, and something like this new reboot of the Twilight Zone, um, especially funded by a giant like CBS and its digital streaming service, CBS All Access, that it manages to have a production value that is like a movie. This episode is very cinematic. Like again, so many interesting shots, so many um, creative choices here that I think will definitely, at the very least, impress you as a cinephile. So at least it did for me. So man, we've come a long way, man. So it's a very well made episode in terms of its production value, definitely. And of course, the performances are great. The story is solid. I like it. It's not trippy, as trippy as I would like it to be, um, but it's a good, well intentioned episode, definitely. So yeah, this is my long review, my long rant of season one, episode 6, titled "6 Degrees of Freedom." What do you guys think? If you have seen it too, do you disagree or do you agree with my assessment of the episode? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. And once again, that Rama Screen is an affiliate of CBS All Access. So um, if you haven't subscribed to CBS All Access, go to ramascreen.com website, click on the CBS All Access banner on the sidebar on the homepage, and follow the instructions there. Okay. All right, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in on this live review of the Twilight Zone season 1, episode 6. As always, subscribe, press that like button, ring that bell, and if you can help support this channel, please do so at patreon.com/ramascreen. That's patreon.com/ramascreen. Let's rock this.